now time to review some of the headline of today's newspapers. We start with This Day, and the headline there, something we've discussed this morning. After Zamfara, appeal court voids Kano governor's election. Rules Abba Yusuf not qualified to contest. Tension high in the state. Upholds election of Bala Muhammad in Bauchi. There, okay, another just below the masthead. All 4 rams of Third Mainland Bridge to be closed on Monday. So for Lagosians, that's not a good sign. I mean, that's not a good news.
It's not at all.
That would mean serious traffic congestion, and more importantly, a lot of man hours will be spent in the gridlocks here in Lagos.
Well, hopefully
Monday.
there will be a way to manage traffic.
I hope so.
Alternative routes should be open, and of course I expect that the police and LASMA will also be on ground to ensure that there's free flow of traffic, hopefully.
And finally, just below that story, Northern States SSGs lament poverty, insecurity in the region. All right.
Okay, so let's move to The Guardian. The headline, Uneasy calm in Kano as appeal court affirms tribunal judgment sacking Governor Yusuf. Of course, something we just, discussed before the break. APC applauds verdict, says party ready to meet ousted governor at Supreme Court. Judgment a tragedy to democracy, Kano residents insist. NNPP expresses optimism in Supreme Court upholding people's will. Well, we've had an in-depth discussion on that, so I really don't think we should waste much time on it.
Although we must mention that the APC chairman, Ganduje, has actually been celebrating this particular one. Of course, he has vested interest in that this particular judgment, owing that he is former governor of this
taking us back to the issue of Godfatherism.
Yes, and but don't meet in court. They say have a day in court. Of course, the Supreme Court is where everything would actually end, and we'll be hoping that they get a logical conclusion to this particular impasse between the APC and the NNPP in Kano State.
Well, also on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, just at the bottom, Emefiele to spend 4 days in Kuje Correctional Center. Aaron, it seems Godwin Emefiele's travels are far from over.
Yes, they are far from over. It's been passed from one security agency to the other, from one correctional institution to the other. Dark days for Godwin Emefiele, the former CBN governor, and let's see how it goes. At the moment, it's looking like Kuje will be his latest address.
Well, hopefully the case will be resolved very soon.
We're hoping so.
It is really lingering.
We're really hoping so.
It's looking like a political witch hunt, like some people would say. But anyway, moving on. Nigerians must unite to achieve Zik's dream for the nation. That's the Sultan of Sokoto speaking there. And I would just like to quickly read, it's on page 26 of the Guardian newspaper. He says, with the aftermath of the 2023 general elections, the reincarnation of Zik's patriotic politics of national integration and unity is more desired now than ever. Aaron, I think this is actually, very topical.
Yes,
at the moment when we have the obedience, and the Agbadorians, as they call them, facing off on Twitter almost on a daily basis, we really should be talking about, national unity and reintegration at this point.
Yes, it is very important, but also not just even national unity, more of national identity. We as a people should know what we want, and regardless of any political party, political affiliation, and political beliefs, what we want as a people should echo through. And these days, it's about my own person in power as against what should government do for its people. Because remember, the role of the government is to protect lives and property and ensure the prosperity of all. We're hoping that some of the labors of our founding fathers are not discarded, and that their labors will not be in vain. like the national anthem and the pledge always says.
Definitely.
That's my prayer. That's my
Definitely.
prayer. Let's move on to Saturday Vanguard. They decided to take a more relaxed outlook because there's the picture of Beverly also there. But let's start it off with the headline that reads, "Why our current financial system favors the rich against the poor." They say our current financial system favors the rich against the poor. So while some people are still gnashing their teeth and groaning in agony here in Nigeria,
The rich are getting richer.
some are saying, analysts are believing that it is very profitable for some
Definitely.
and quite dire for some others. And it's the writer there says, rich and poor gap widen as system responds to inflation. We spoke about inflation.
Yes, we did.
And more importantly, as we get into the Utah season, we'll begin to even see this inflation actually widen. And it's unfortunate that the gap between the rich and poor is actually widening, no thanks to the shortages of dollar and FX. Also, we mentioned, what do you call it, subsidy, also causing a huge rift between the rich and the poor. Because at the moment in time, for you to be able to fuel your car, you must actually have a deep pocket on a consistent basis.
Yes,
And it's a luxury for some, while it's a necessity
Some
for
people are
others.
even fueling their cars with state resources.
Okay, and this was a situation persists as CBN's policy committee meets next week. Okay, let's hope the CBN can actually put in policies that can help bridge this particular gap. Still on the Saturday Vanguard, at the top of the paper there it says, "How to Save Nigeria." Adebanjo, Ayaoku, Obi Ngige, and others. So some people are preferring solutions to this problem, to the problem that Nigeria finds itself, and the likes of Adebanjo, Chris Ngige, former minister, former governor, and Peter Obi all have their own take on how to save Nigeria. Okay. I don't know what. I
remember during the campaigns,
Yeah.
that was actually the theme then.
Okay.
Everybody wanted to save Nigeria. Everybody wanted to rebuild Nigeria. But then, of course, the elections, they've been won and it's been
they've
settled.
been won and lost.
They've been won and lost. It's been
yeah.
settled. And now we are actually waiting for the rebuilding process to actually start.
We're still waiting. All right. Tell me, Chokwe.
Now, let's move to the Saturday Telegraph. And the headline on the Saturday Telegraph is, FG bows to pressure, rescinds decision. We're talking about universities' IGR remittance. FG bows to pressure, rescinds decision. And the ex-Unilag VCs say it's good government reversed itself. Talking about the internally generated revenue, the federal government, through the Minister of Education, Tahir Maman, says that all federal universities, that the internally generated revenues of all federal universities will be remitted to it. Of course, another story that also caught my attention, off-cycle Guba. INEC says we have no plan to review Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa elections. Commission has made polls review ineffective, that's according to the Labour Party in Imo State, and Bayelsa APC says we've filed petition. You know what comes to mind, Aaron, when I see this headline from INEC saying we have no plans to review Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa elections? You know what comes to mind? Go to court.
That's what that seems to be the favorite catchphrase right now when it comes to elections. It's unfortunate because petitions upon petitions have a reason for every election that was held in the off-cycle election from Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. All the losing parties have actually written petitions, and they claim they have ironclad evidence for INEC to say they do not want to review.
You know that Yaga Africa, a civil society organization, actually questioned INEC regarding some results. They said elections did not take place, yet results were released and uploaded. And it's mind-boggling that INEC is comfortable enough to say we have no plans to review any of these elections, to talk about it, to investigate any of these petitions. Yeah. So in other words, INEC is done. Let the courts take over. I guess the court now is like, maybe the extra arm of INEC. I don't understand.
It's unfortunate because people have said that what they call it, elections should not be determined by the courts. That democracy should actually be determined. Where democracy swings, or the wind of democracy, should be controlled by the electorate and the people who actually are the major stakeholders in democracy, which are the electorate. But it's unfortunate that the trend is getting worse, that every election right now is always up for dispute, and tribunals, court of appeals, and Supreme Courts are the ones deciding who governs the people and who actually are the ones to benefit from this our democracy as against the electorate. It's unfortunate, really and unfortunate. It is very regrettable. At this moment in time, it's getting worse, and if we do not find a way to halt this, the people will begin to question, why do we have to have elections in the first place? Already, there is widespread apathy because people do not believe in the electoral process. And that should be a warning sign to INEC as an institution, because it is not just about Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, because his tenure will come and go, and someone else will be there. But we need to have a body. We spoke about Liberia, and the fact that, as it stands right now, the outgoing president, George Oponwe, believed the process was fair enough, and he's considered defeat to Bokai. And he has even gone on to say president-elect in his statement. That is a huge, huge relief for a country like Liberia, because they've gone through torrid times and they know what instability and the civil war can do to them. And for them to be able to put themselves together, get their acts right, and actually put out an election, it cannot all be free and fair, definitely, but it should be mostly free, fair, and credible.
Very well said, Aaron. Now, finally, on the Saturday Telegraph, on the bottom right corner of the front page, PDP APC bicker over vote of confidence in Akeredolu. Opposition party gives governor 3 days to resume. Aaron, your thoughts?
This continues. It's unfortunate that this is happening in Nigeria, and more importantly, it's the people of Ondo State that will suffer this. Governor Akeredolu, our thoughts and wishes are with him, and we hope he's on his feet as soon as possible. A legal luminary and one of the brightest minds in the legal profession. But it's unfortunate that he has found himself in a very precarious circumstance. I would think that probably he should face his health and try to be well and leave politics alone, because politics can be draining both physically and mentally. But some have insisted he's still fit to still hold office in Nigeria, and hence the impasse in Ondo State continues. It's the people that would always suffer from major decisions like this. It's unfortunate it's happening, and like I've said again, it's regrettable it's happening, but we need to become effective as a nation, and we need to hold our leaders accountable. We knew how much storm had to be raised and how much dust had to be raised before the late Yar'Adua had to hand over power to then the Vice President, Goodluck Jonathan. That should not be the case. If you're not fit to hold office, and you should just do the right thing and move on.
But we saw similar scenarios, play out in Taraba State.
Yes.
And the governor actually did not hand over.
That's the unfortunate thing. A lot of people want to liken it, and it should not be a thing, because when the West or when the international community likes to look at Africa, they like to see Africans as people that like to hold on to power and refuse to let it go. And that is why whatever George Weah has done is highly commendable, because it should not be. Let the people speak. Let the laws guide our actions as against what is your personal predilective or your personal preference towards a particular thing, or if it favors me or it doesn't favor me. Let the laws, because there are laws in this land. We are not living in a banana republic. There are laws, and these laws are always explicit, but we would always find a way to bend, to twist, to to shadow the laws to favor us. And at the end of the day, we find ourselves in murky waters, which should not be. It's unfortunate. But quickly, let's talk about the Saturday Sun. And this one is talking about inflation also. Outcry over rising inflation. Now, according to the Saturday Sun, some Nigerians have a message to the president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said, we can no longer breathe. High cost of living is choking us. And one of the writers there says, experts blame insecurity, energy crisis, the weak naira for soaring inflation. One thing is certain. There might be a million and one reasons, but one thing is certain: inflation is on the rise here in Nigeria. And the question is, what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must do to restore hope. This is what MBF, the PDP group, CSO are saying at the moment. And this one is very worrying also. Okay, I think this is a story here. Quickly below that, my story is neither born with silver spoon nor grass to grace. This is Obi Awanko, the CEO of United Airlines, speaks on early years education in Russia, business forays.
Well, for more on those stories, grab your copy of the Saturday Sun.
Okay.
Well, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Temitope Fagbemi.
And I'm Aaron Akerejala from our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.